The Hawaii Democratic Revolution of 1954 was a non-violent social revolution, generated by reactions of labor activists and World War II veterans to initiate the end of Big Five Republican dominance as well as political and social reform in Hawaii. During the late 19th century, Hawaii was undergoing immense political and economic change. In 1875, the Reciprocity Treaty initiated the sugar plantation age in Hawaii, allowing the United States to trade freely with Hawaii and opening doors to foreign influence. In 1887, King Kalakaua was forced by anti-monarchists to sign the Bayonet Constitution, under which foreign-born residents were permitted to vote. This constitution consequently caused the Hawaiian monarchy to lose power, and in 1893, Hawaii's ruling monarch, Queen Liliuokalani, was overthrown when she challenged the legitimacy of this imposed constitution. With the end of the Hawaiian monarchy, the Republic of Hawaii was established with Sanford B. Dole named as president. Hawaii was annexed to the United States on July 7, 1898. On April 30, 1900, the Organic Act was signed. This act restricted Hawaii's racial majority, Asian immigrants, from voting, thereby maintaining white Republican dominance. The Big Five provided the economic basis of the Republican political power. The Big Five controlled 35 out of 38 sugar plantations on Hawaii, as well as other economic ventures in oligopolistic fashion with interlocking directorates. The Republican Party, representing an alliance between white plantation owners and Hawaiian ali'i, made decisions that would benefit the Big Five companies, and in turn the companies used their power to ensure that Republicans got elected. The Big Five solidified their political power by creating social tensions in the plantations through race-based pay scales and racial segregation between the ethnic groups. These social divisions between the various ethnic groups were challenged first in the controversial Massey case. In 1931, Thalia Massey, a white woman, accused 5 non-white local men of raping her, despite a lack of substantial evidence. The scandal escalated with the murder of one of the accused men, Joseph Kahawabai. The Massey case brought light to white supremacy and social inequality in the islands, unifying non-white minorities with an emergent local culture of resistance as locals grew more angered by the injustice of the Massey case. It was this outrage toward the Big Five dominance felt on the plantation that became the ultimate driving force that pushed the labor movement and the need for reform. Plantation workers wanted improved medical care, lower housing costs, and a 40-hour work week. More importantly, laborers desired equality and freedom from prejudice and discrimination. These desires for reform led workers to join unions like the International Longshore Warehousemen Union. On August 1, 1938, laborers staged a peaceful protest on the Hilo dock. However, when the police arrived, brutality broke out. When the Unionists remained, expressing their determination and solidarity as an interracial union, Deputy Sheriff Peter Pakele gave orders to shoot. 51 people were wounded. This shooting, coined the Hilo Massacre, indicated the scope and depth of Big Five power and rampant political corruption in Hawaii. The Hilo Massacre also captured the fear the Big Five felt toward the Union and the labor movement. Because union organizing was illegal throughout World War II, it was not until the 1946 sugar strike that Hawaii workers tested the power of the Little Wagner Act, New Deal legislation designed for a unionizing of agricultural workers. In 1946, 76,000 sugar workers went on strike, shutting down 33 out of 34 plantations. This strike suggested that multi-ethnic solidarity was important, that union-wide striking was more successful than striking as a single race, as otherwise other ethnic workers were brought in to replace the striking racial groups. This strike laid the foundation for the 1954 Democratic Revolution, as it became conceivable to rebel against the alliance between the Big Five and the Republican Party. Another source of hostile reactionary resistance to the oligopolistic control of the Big Five was the experience of Japanese Americans from Hawaii during World War II. The prejudice towards Japanese Americans and the oppression of locals on the islands motivated the veterans to seek social change. Through the GI Bill, they gained the means to do so. The veterans took advantage of the government-financed education to better their lives and address the social, political, and economic problems in Hawaii as well. Joining the pro-labor Democratic Party, with endorsements from the IOWU, 442nd veterans ran for offices in government. However, the Republicans and the Big Five were unwilling to cede power to the newly organized Democratic Party. The Republicans leveled accusations that leaders of the IOWU, a significant supporter of the Democratic Party, were communists. These accusations escalated when the territorial government asked TUAC to investigate the alleged communists in Hawaii, including the investigation and trial of the Hawaii Seven. Although all were convicted for violation of the Smith Act, their convictions were overturned. Members of the IOWU and World War II veterans formed a democratic society at the University of Hawaii, which was ultimately disbanded on charges of being communist.
Communism at this particular time was seen as something that seemed to acknowledge the difficulties labor was having.
The Red Scare of the 40s and 50s framed communists as grave threats, and the IOWU's alleged close association with the Communist Party caused many Democrats to deny their connection with the Union. This consequently weakened the Democratic Party as it lost members and key supporters, for denial of IOWU association angered the laborers and divided the party. However, Burns notably stated, "I am proud to accept the endorsement made by the Union." These sentiments were shared by other Democrats and helped ease the tensions forming between the IOWU and the Democratic Party, reinsuring labor support. With the support of the IOWU and World War II veterans eager for change, the Democratic Revolution was in motion. On November 2, 1954, the people in the Republican-dominated territory went to the ballots to vote. 142,409 votes were cast, and by the end of the day, voters had abandoned their traditional patterns and voted for the Democrats. In a complete upset, the Democrats won a 9-6 majority in Senate and a 22-8 majority in House, which is enough to override the governor's veto. Though the Democrats had taken the 1954 elections, their work had only begun. One of the most important actions taken by Democrats was to help Hawaii attain statehood. Delegate John Burns pushed for the admittance bill. On August 21, 1959, Hawaii was officially signed in as a state by President Eisenhower. The Democrats sought to reform Hawaii. They were focused on expanding opportunities for people that at the time were limited. The Democrats improved the educational system by providing more student scholarships, establishing free citizenship classes, and advancing teacher salaries. They also decreased the student-teacher ratio and increased the number of teachers by 5%. The Democratic Revolution of 1954 was a political success in that it overthrew the ruling Republicans. However, many people question its classification as a revolution. It is argued that the Democrats have simply recreated the system of political domination they have fought so hard to overcome, for since 1954, the Democrats have had the political majority. However, it is clear that the Democratic Revolution marked an era of social revolution. Society came together, united by their outrage toward the Big Five oligarchy, and demanded a change, which they obtained through the Democratic Party. Ethnic segregation reinforced by Big Five workplace policies were challenged and became ethnic solidarity. Working together in the labor movement unified Hawaii's diverse ethnic groups. The successes of the labor movement motivated the collapse in agriculture, as capitalist companies wanted to move their plantations to areas where they could pay the workers less. This fall in Hawaii's economic staple created a need for a new trade, which was found in Hawaii's growing tourism industry. This economic transformation had long-term implications as Hawaii became dependent on tourism, and people started to adopt the idea of living on land outside of their workplace and began forming multi-ethnic communities. Also, throughout the process of fermenting this revolution, the Democratic Party itself began to change. The Democratic Revolution of 1954 marked the beginning of citizens taking active roles in their political system, as more citizens ran for government positions, as opposed to the traditional patterns where economic control coincided with political dominance. Today, many enraged citizens blame our Democratic-dominated government for the lack of social reform currently prevalent in Hawaii. Perhaps the reason they have stopped striving for reform is because as a society, we have stopped demanding the changes we seek. We must be the changes we seek, or else the consequences of the 1954 elections will be short-lived.